Welcome, everybody. We will just wait for 1 or 2 minutes just to let people connect, and we'll be back with Jérôme. Okay, good. We start to have some people right now. Thank you very much for being here. We are expecting about 400 people to this webinar. So that's great. Thank you very much. It's a new webinar in the sense that we are using new tools. So please feel free to give any feedbacks directly in the chat. Use the chat also to ask questions directly. We will take as many questions as possible. So let's start right now. I'm Thomas. I'm the CEO of Upply. I will be your host today, and I'm very pleased to welcome our shipping expert at Upply, Jérôme. Jérôme, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Thomas. Hi to everyone.
This webinar will be, so we'll start right now. We have half of the people that are connected right now, so that's great. The schedule for this webinar that is supposed to last about 30 minutes, we will maybe go a bit more above the 30 minutes if we have a lot of questions. The schedule is the following. I will start by a quick presentation of Upply. Then we'll go directly in the main topic of this webinar, the impact of what is happening right now in Iran, in the Strait of Hormuz, and the three possible crisis exits, the three scenarios that have been built by Jérôme and by our experts. Please write questions through the webinar. I will try to take some if they are related to the talking points that we will show, and if this is not the case, we will wait at the end, or at least on the section 3 regarding the three possible scenarios, to try to answer to your question and also to illustrate what we are talking about. Let's start. I see some question already. Thank you, everybody, and good morning, good evening for the one that are in Asia. Upply very quickly. I think many of you, I recognize many of the names that are today connected, so you already know of Upply. The main idea is behind Upply is that we are a tech and data platform dedicated to the supply chain and the logistic industry. It's been about 9 years now that we are working mainly on understanding the transport data to aggregate them and to create value with this data. And today we are focused on one part of our activity, that is ocean freight, with one main application that we have, that is collecting the data of our clients, that may be shippers or freight forwarders, put this data in a normal basis, let's say, to collect this data, to have it, to clean it, to have it in a single format, to then be able to compare it with the market. And the main takeaway or the main usage that we have today is I'm in on these lanes, on these trade lanes, for instance, a bit of Asia to Europe, Asia to the US, or US Europe. I have a mix of everything, and I want to be sure that the tender that I just run, for instance, is aligned with the market, and that I can follow every month what is the fluctuation of the market. Is it the right time to run a tender, or is it the wrong time due to what is happening? This is really the main focus of what we are doing at Upply. And given all this data that we are collecting, our objective today is to look at ocean freight and what is happening on the market. And just a quick snapshot of something that is coming up also, that is already live, but that is improving very fast. We have built for the clients that are already working at Upply, you have access to that, an AI copilot for freight intelligence. The main idea is that we took the best of Anthropic, Mistral, all the guys that are publishing directly AI, and we have trained this AI on our data, on the data of our partners that are private data that no one has access to. All the public ChatGPT or others don't have access to this data. And so we trained these experts, to be the best in road transportation, air freight, and ocean shipping. And this is also this one that we'll use today to give some insights on what is happening on the market. Okay, and to end the introduction here, and to follow up on now the main subject that have been published, that I think I just lost the connection, but it's back again. We will base our webinar here on the two last papers that have been published by our team and by Jérôme and Anne. The first one is the last barometer on ocean shipping, that is on shipping, that is the one on the left. And the other one is the ranking for 2025 on the container ports. The two are quite interesting because we can see the different dynamics, and we will talk, for instance, about the Jebel Ali port that is number 10 in ranking in containers, and that, I mean, it's a strong, the impact of what is happening in Iran is very strong on this specific port. So this is it for the introduction. Now let's go directly into the details of what is happening. First thing, let's take a graph of the ship passages through the Strait of Hormuz to really have a clear view of what is happening. We lost about 90% of the number of ships that go through this canal, this strait. And we can see different moments since the beginning of the war in February 2028, with some moments it was harder, and now that we have the President Trump that announced a blockage in all the shipments that can go through the Strait of Hormuz, we see the numbers that start to decrease once again. So this is the global picture, and this is to give a kind of a high view of global statistics. But the idea of this webinar is to go in more detail in the human costs of this conflict, the operational costs, and what also is the impact on the global organization of container shipping more specifically. So let's go on that. Jérôme, I will let you now follow on this slide and on the human toll of disruption.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Yes, indeed. We are entering, after 6 weeks, entering the 7th week. First point I wanted to highlight, it is a sanitary human chaos regarding the number of people who are blocked now for more than 6 weeks. It's a very long period of time for seafarers, and it is concerning quite a lot of people, nearly 20,000 people who are currently trapped in the Persian Gulf. There is also some people who are blocked on cruise ships, nearly still 2,000 tourists who didn't get an opportunity to go back to their home by plane. So from a human point of view, taking in account the constraints on water restrictions, food restrictions, even in some states, there is some people who look after the seafarers. I wanted first to start this webinar in highlighting the humanitarian, the human situation. Very difficult for the crews to cope with this kind of pressure, being far from home and expecting maybe that a drone or a missile will go on their head. I think that here we don't imagine very well the psychological pressure these people have to cope with. So it's a difficult situation, yes, and of course it is little discussed, I think, in the press, and I wanted to start with this highlight. But yes, maybe we can move on to the next slide.
Yeah, for sure. The next slide is thank you, Jérôme. The next slide is on the operational consequences, and I wanted to also open that by some global figures that's related to container shipping, because we are talking a lot about the oil markets, for sure, because this is the place where a huge part of the oil is transiting in this Strait of Hormuz. But let's take some figures. If we are talking about container shipping, the container arrivals, the destination of the containers in the world, there is only 4% that is linked with the countries in this Gulf. So we can say it's few. But if we look on the other way on the transit part, and if we're looking more specifically about Jebel Ali, the port of Jebel Ali, that is ranked number 10, we're talking about 15 million of TEUs that are coming through this region of the world. That is more, for instance, that some big ports that we have in Rotterdam, for instance, in Europe. So that's still something, and we need to have a look at that from a container perspective, not only from a bulk oil or gas one.
Yeah. And today, yes, you are right, Thomas. And today we focus definitely on container. And it's true that in terms of how to manage to understand that the issue is cascading everywhere in the containerized market is very important due to this position of Jebel Ali, due to the status of Jebel Ali, which is nearly closed today. And so it is true that very often people say, well, Persian Gulf, very limited volumes to go there. So, okay, high value volumes, a lot of reefers and so on, but no big deal. It will not change the global dynamics. Yes, it's changed the global dynamic because in the past decade, Jebel Ali became one of the biggest hubs between Asia and Europe. And so, of course, it has a huge impact on the whole containerized economy. We made a focus on this one on perishable goods, and I would like to share with you a testimony coming from a big shipper, a big reefer shipper to the area, to the Persian Gulf, because it is really the hotspot. It is really what it is very difficult to cope with. As you know, most of carriers have offered some B plans, some diverted traffic options with land bridge, with long road transportation, mostly from Jeddah, where there is really a lot of vessels today, and also from Salalah and from Khorfakkan. And the issue it is that for dry containers, even in limited volumes, well, you will work not in a completely normal mode, but you can find some solutions, even if they are costly. Talking a little bit about rates, what's on the market. A normal rate to go to Dubai for a dry is nearly $2,000 from Europe, roughly. Today, via Jeddah to go to Dubai, the market is between $6,000 and $7,000. But for a reefer, it is far more complicated because you need to plug the container during the road transportation, and it's not always possible to have the equipment available, and it came at a far higher cost. Usually to send a 40 reefer, average market price is around $4,000 per 40 foot to go to Dubai. But now some have to pay, and when it is possible, nearly $15,000 just to get it there, and with delays, and very often with some consignees who are not willing to pay or to share the additional costs. So perishable goods when we are talking about Gulf countries, we are talking about reefer market, and the reefer market is definitely the most difficult to satisfy today. So there is a big focus on this one. Time-sensitive cargo offshore, of course, it is quite difficult to handle in these times. So yeah, maybe you wanted to talk a little bit about we will talk it later with the freight rates, but
Yeah.
of course there is an impact on freight rates due to the price of oil, and particularly with the VLSFO price.
Yes, this was exactly the transition that I will made to the next slide. Regarding the real impact, and in your paper, you were talking about the price of the low sulfur fuel that is increasing a lot. I think almost, plus 80% in some cases. If
Well,
I remember.
the VLSFO went up to $1,000 per ton, and is sometimes a bit below and a bit upsticks $1,000 per ton. But 10 days ago, I think it supersedes $1,000 per ton. When normal price are fluctuating between 550 and 650. So of course,
so almost double. Yeah.
It's a huge impact.
We have this huge impact of the fuel. We have the impact also on higher insurance premium in some cases.
Yeah, the insurance topic was interesting because back at the beginning of the crisis, end of February, most of the P&I clubs in London were not in a mood to cover anymore. So that's the reason why there was this plan B with Chubb and under the US umbrella to try to offer a coverage. It's still a big question, but what we and the rates are really fluctuating. Normally, in normal circumstances, the rate of insurance are between 0.1, 0.2. And we heard about rates on the market last week at above 2% of the hull value and the cargo value. Mm-hmm. So it's limiting. But I think that from an insurance point of view, things eased a bit. It's not really the question of getting an insurance or not. It is getting safety insurance, not to be attacked. And that's another question, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a geopolitical question also, and this is all the debate that we have right now. Additional to the insurance, you are talking also in your paper and about the. I've seen that there is a more and more congestion regarding in the ports, and this is the case also in South Africa around the Cape of Good Hope. It was because of the. Over the past months, we had more and more ships that went through a Good Hope. But now that we have this issue in the Persian Gulf, this is additional ships that are going in this direction. And I've looked somewhere about 5 to 6 days now additional in terms of delays because of this congestion. So it will add also a cost and transit time to what we are experiencing right now on the supply chain.
Of course. The nearly closure of Jebel Ali had a huge impact because the transshipment points had to be elsewhere between Asia and Europe. And so, as you said, East Africa, South Africa, some ports in India also are deeply concerned with what is happening. And creating, of course, extra burden, creating extra delay, creating waiting times, creating congestion. And when there is some congestion, there is some congestion surcharges, particularly at a time when the business activity and the demand between Asia and Europe is quite strong these days. So it is affecting, it is emphasizing this aspect of congestion, and of course, at the end of the day, for the shipper, it may end in a congestion surcharge to pay, in addition to already a downgraded service, as you mentioned, Thomas. So the domino effect is there clearly, because when you take in account all this surcharge, the biggest one is fuel. It is the biggest topic. It should be emergency fuel surcharge, should be EBS, whatever it is called by the carrier. But clearly, these fuel costs are passed directly on the shippers. It was interesting to say that the FMC reacted in the US, and Mrs. Di Bella asked to postpone and to respect the 1 month pre-advised rule in order to enforce these surcharges. But so now they are coming in full effect clearly for April. It was not the case for March. And if you add effectively war risk premiums, maybe tomorrow congestion surcharge, plus the fact that you suffer extra delay, it very quickly you add on east-west routes $600 to $800 on a 40-foot. Not talking about the freight rate as it in itself, which are fluctuating, but relatively modestly fluctuating, the freight rates as themselves, but the whole picture, the invoice due to the surcharge is climbing quite high these days.
Yeah, and this is really the point. I will take back my hat of the data guy, really regarding taking into account the right surcharge, the right data, because there is the freight cost for sure, but there are other surcharges, and it's very difficult right now to take all the things into account in the right way, depending on all the corridors. And this is, I mean, something we're working on, and we were working on at the place since for years now. And this is why having data and accurate data is key right now.
Yeah, particularly if you can take it from invoices.
Yeah, exactly. And this is just an illustration of what we have made regarding really here, for instance, the Shanghai to Le Havre or Shanghai Rotterdam corridor, where we see these different surcharges, the additional and the cost that is increasing. And if you look directly at the destination in the Gulf and around Iran, there are additional surcharges. And I've seen a new surcharge that is called the permanent security surcharge. So to show really the fact that now you have a permanent cost on going into this destination. Okay, I think we're almost done. We will focus right now on the possible scenario. We have some questions from Sylvia, from Fabio. I will let you start, Jérôme, with the 3 different scenarios so that I can get all the questions and try to make a summary of the question of Lane, Michel, Sylvia, and Fabio.
Yeah, of course. So, well, yeah, it's a bit crystal ball. It's a lot crystal ball, to be honest, at time of talking, as you know. But we try to make a split about the potential options, ranging from short-term, mid-term to long-term impact. On the short-term basis, of course, what we understood from the ceasefire is that it was requested from Israel to stop to bomb Lebanon in order to expect to have a balance with Iranis. But as you may know, as we all know, the Pakistan talks for time being stopped, so we are not going very far. Just a few words about the toll booth at Larak Island that was very discussed, put in place by the Iranians. We were talking about $1 per barrel. That was the figure that was spread around the market. the US counter blockade is supposed to stop the system. It's supposed to stop the system because exactly in the graph you show us, the number of tankers transiting through Hormuz were mostly transiting through Iraq with a green light from via the toll booth with a green light from the Iranian authorities. So in terms of law, of course, it was not acceptable. But in terms of pragmatism, I discussed with many senior people in the activity who were, of course, not happy with the idea, but who were okay to accept the idea for a short period of time in order to unlock things. So today, this option is apparently blocked by the US counter blockade, and we still don't know if there is mines or no mines in the strait, and it is still a question mark. A gradual return to market balance, a firm ceasefire that would at least allow the ships currently blocked to be released. It is what is expected now. It is, and it goes back to the beginning of this webinar when we were talking about the human situation, because we have to bear in mind that we are talking about numerous people who ask for nothing in this story. And of course, maybe the counter blockade, bringing back the Iranian on the table of negotiations may promote, may help, but it is not sure at all to have a potential effect to get these ships out, because it is the first topic is to get these ships out. We are talking about 800 big ships blocked. So, and within these 800 big ships blocked, there is nearly 130 containers carrier. So, of course, it would, if this may happen quickly, it would have a cool down effect on energy prices and may also calm down the market. And restoration of reefer supply chains is quite of paramount importance for me, because all these big cities in Dubai, Doha, whatsoever, and they need fresh food, and the only real way to bring fresh food is to get a reefer supply chain flowing and close to back to normal.
Jérôme, the question on that, because before going on the scenario 3, we had a question from Sylvia that were asking which type of goods are most affected by the Strait blockage, without talking about oil and gas. Here, you answer to that by saying all the fresh goods, all the temperature control goods are maybe the ones that are the most affected?
In the container activity, to me, yes, by far. Okay. But there is also some others, fertilizers, helium, gas, aluminium. Okay, but these commodities are not always in containers. But if we focus really on the liner and container business, to me, the big point is reefer container. Yeah. Okay. Particularly for our Western economy in Europe.
And perfect. Another question was linked to what about a lasting disruption that might reshape the market? So this is your scenario 3, so it's a perfect transition for that.
Yeah. Clearly, to me, the last news from the US with this counter blockade scenario, which is, in my opinion, will be very difficult to implement. Latest news are that US Navy vessels, 15 US Navy vessels, will be not at all in the Hormuz Strait area. They will be far before in the Arabian Sea, in less hot waters. And so it questioned really the capacity of this fleet to control everything which will goes through the strait. And I don't know really how they will make it. I understand very well that they are implementing an additional pressure. This is understandable to bring some people back around the table of negotiation. But behind the scene, it is also, and it is to me the key issue that is raising for the past 2 or 3 days with this blockade approach. It is to push also China, India, and other Asian countries, mostly related to the BRICS, to also enter into the game from an official point of view. And it is very serious because in Asia, the situation regarding oil is far more a concern than it is for us in Europe today. That is to say that in many areas of Asia today, the delivery of diesel, for example, is already very scarce or really under pressure. And so my understanding of the dynamics is that we have to push more the Asian parts to get involved in the reopening of the strait. And I think it is one of the hidden message behind this counter-blockage approach. Definitely, and to stop with that, it's a question, it's a matter of time now. Things are getting urgent. All the vessels that left the strait before February 28 arrived at destination. So now in all the destinations all over the world from this origin, they can feel the lack of cargo. And so things are entering in a serious game now.
Great. Thank you very much, Jérôme. We still have a lot of questions, so I will try to pick some of them additionally. We have one regarding do you have in mind, Jérôme, the percentage of the bunkering costs in the total cost of a ship?
The average ratio is to say 25% usually. Okay. It is a very basic ratio. Of course, it depends on the type of the boat, the quality, the age, whatsoever. But let's take 25 as a yardstick, and it can help you in your calculations.
Great. And we have a question also from Michel that is asking if we look at the data and the graphs that we have seen previously, considering the impact of the surcharges and the different increases, can we see a deterioration on freight-based rates due to a lack of demand? What about the demand in everything? Because we see prices that are increasing, but not that much. Does it mean that the demand is low? And
Right. We can talk about 3 corridors to make it quick. Trans-Pacific. We have seen in the last port stats for the US that there was a kind of a plateau, kind of stagnation in terms of demand, in terms of volumes. And so we still see, we are in quite a strong period of inventory replenishment. So even on Trans-Pacific, where the market should be stable, we see a strong demand. And with the additional effect of the surcharges, of course, it will increase the bill. On Asia, Europe, you are right, Michel, I think. It was beginning of the year was with a decreasing rates approach due to the fact that the demand was low. But since end of January, early February, we see more demand on Asia-Europe routes in order effectively to get bigger inventories and bigger stocks. And the conjunction of the external factor of the Hormuz Strait crisis is giving some upstick trend to the rate because the demand is quite strong. On transatlantic, it is a different approach because, as you may know, FMC has given some constraints, mostly to CMA and to ONE, in terms of services through the transatlantic. And what we see in the past days, it is that transatlantic is picking up quite seriously. And transatlantic being a bit far from the crisis, even if as the fuel supply and the price of bunkering is the same for everyone all over the world now.
Great, thank you, Jérôme. And I will take the last question. And if you have additional questions, please. I've seen that is one. There is one also regarding how can I structure my tender for mid of April. This one and a big question. We can discuss that in one just after. Please contact us. These are our contacts. Feel free to contact us directly. And last question is. In the insurance, is the insurance premium affecting only shipments in the Middle East, or is it applied globally? Thank you.
The figures I was talking about, around 2% or 2.5%, it was a specific rate to go through the Strait of Hormuz. But it is interesting to see that on a general basis, rates of insurance are still climbing for other areas because, as you have seen, we experienced that and we were surprised by that at the very beginning of the conflict. EastMed was striked. It was Cyprus, if I remember well.
Yes.
And there was also some threats up down to the Diego Garcia area in the Indian Ocean. So it showed also to the insurance company that it was not a local issue, that the ability of the Iranian forces to strike can go as far as 4,000 or 5,000 kilometers from their launch base. And of course, it has a more moderate impact on insurance rate than just crossing the Strait of Hormuz. But it still has an impact on all the shipping. Plus, if you combine also the issues with the dark fleet and so on, it makes the feeling that there is no space safe at sea these days, wherever you are.
Yeah. Thank you, Jérôme. Thank you all to attend this webinar. Just a last word on you can follow us also on LinkedIn. We publish often some new contents regarding ocean shipping, but also different type of transportation, either Jérôme or myself. The next webinar that we will do is regarding road transportation. So this one will have also a lot of impact also regarding the increase of the price of oil. I mean, and all the impacts on the demand, on the decrease of the GDP forecast and everything, which will be very interesting also. Feel free to follow us, to ask questions directly. You have our emails over there. And thank you. I hope you enjoyed this new version of the webinar. We will try to have it also often. And have a great day and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Thomas. Yes, and don't hesitate to send me emails in order I didn't answer to your question. I would be very pleased to talk with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jérôme. Thank you all. Bye-bye.